Hello and welcome to Stop Hammer Time. And it's an excitable Stop Hammer Time this week because we have a genuine West Ham legend with us.
We're all a quiver.
We're a quiver.
Hold on. I am not a legend.
You are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
He
a
is
legend.
a legend.
In my book.
You can't call me that.
He is a legend,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, you're not a myth, but you are a legend.
Jim, is this man a legend? Well, Jim, as head of English,
it's a
you'd be able
technical
to tell the
term.
difference between myths
Definitely
and
a legend.
legends.
Definitely a
He
legend.
is a legend.
Yeah.
You are a legend because you are Martin Allen.
Hey.
Martin Mad Dog Allen is with us.
Look, I am not a legend. Billy
Martin
Bonds, Trevor Brooking are legends. I've sort of made some people happy, but not legends.
There's a bracket of West Ham players that the fans hold a long-held affection for, and you
That's
are
right.
definitely one of those players. That there was a period in which you played, which was 89 to 94,
96, I'd say.
early
95,
96,
96
end of the
season,
95 season. After coming from
Just in case you
QPR.
didn't know, that was
Just
just,
in
I was just letting you know there, Martin, what your
What we
playing
like to
time
do
was.
with guests is tell them what they've done,
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
case they forget.
I will be telling you mainly what you did.
But Martin
this
Mad
evening.
Dog Allen played in a very, very good West Ham lineup, which it did involve being down in the second flight football a couple
At
of times.
times,
But
yes.
what you got in during that period, 89 to 95, was that you got two excellent teams that got us promoted back to the top flight,
Well, yeah.
full of great players,
And
including
characters, great
Martin.
characters
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Martin, you're seen as a bit of a character, aren't you? I think probably extending into your management career, you have always been seen as a bit of a character. You were in those two sort of promotion teams that I think, looking back on it and in our experience watching West Ham, well, Jim and I, since a
long time ago.
We don't talk about it. It's like Hollywood actresses. We don't really talk about their age.
no.
But those were great teams with a lot of great players in them. Bish Bosch, who we have to get onto because in that podcast where you were absent, Jim, I had to defend Bishop against stadium announcer Jeremy Nicholas and the bloke that wrote
Outrageous.
An Irrational Hatred of Luton,
Outrageous.
Rob Banks. I somehow implied that Ian Bishop was a good footballer, which he was. They seemed.
Anyone who was at the game, which we lost 1-0 to Manchester United to that sort of slimy
No one lost a game like Ian
Cantona
Bishop.
goal. No, we did lose the game, but we absolutely dominated the second half against them. And Bishop passed Man United off the park in that game, and we did everything but score to win, to draw and win that game.
So, Martin, what was it like, sort of playing in that team? The kind of those two periods, the two promotion teams, 91 and 93, when we came up. Must have been great. It must have been a great team to play in.
A lot of characters. A lot of good people. Funny people. We used to have real fun between ourselves.
Gailey apparently is a bit of a character, isn't he?
Yeah, he was old school, and then there was some others that were brought in, probably a bit like myself, that would mess about, have a laugh, and but we were managed very, very well. It was a different style of management.
Bonzo.
Yeah, with Billy, and brought in Harry as coach, and Harry done most of the work, to be fair, but Billy was the manager, of course. But yeah, we had a good squad, a good atmosphere, and as you said earlier, I think characters and, watching football nowadays, for myself personally, it does lack that type of... I suppose there's not too many that do mess about.
No. One thing we were saying before we started the podcast is that I mean, you're almost exactly one of the players that I pull up as an example of a feeling I had.
You're just saying that because I'm here.
No, that's not.
I won't bite you.
It's not true.
No,
Well, you might, and we'll get rabies if you do.
Yeah, you're not actually here. We're dubbing you in afterwards. You now is being dubbed in afterwards. Just Jim and I are doing this on our own in a recording studio in London, Soho.
Yeah.
But no, it's it was a fantastic crop of players, and we've sort of been talking about kind of Premiership players often being like 2/3 of a good player. Players. I felt that in the World Cup where they would be, they'd be talking about kind of we got to get Aaron Lennon for his pace. really sort of
and
not really ignoring sort of the other parts of the game you had to do. And I think when I was sort of talking about kind of old school players, I would often say you had players like Martin Allen who could pass, who could trap a ball with any part of their body, who could run with the ball, could take a free kick, hit a dead ball, and do everything you're supposed to be able to do as a footballer. And now it feels like the benchmark's kind of a bit lower.
I think you're fantasising, because that ain't me.
Do you think that's...
I could do some of those things sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, you know, I'd hit a free kick and it would go right up the back of the North Bank. But because I used to put my my hand above my brow to see how far the ball had gone into the distance, the supporters used to laugh. I used to kind of laugh a little bit. And they were the types of funny things, dribbling with the ball and good control. No, it used to hit me, and it was touch and tackle. A bad touch, and I could tackle somebody, which is what used to turn me on, to be honest.
That, with all due respect, is bullshit. Martin Allen, you were one of the best. You're really one of the best midfielders we've seen at West Ham. Truly great midfielder.
Your first season, which was 89-90,
Yeah.
How many goals did you score in that first season?
I ain't got a clue.
It was 11. Which is pretty good
for a midfielder. Out of midfield, that's like a Lampard-esque goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My record, someone did tell me, I haven't come on here to go big time and horrible like that.
We can do that for you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
That's the thing.
Leave that to us, Martin.
The goals per game ratio was the best of any midfield player at West Ham. And then Frank obviously came along and done so well and beat that. But, of course, that was something I'm very proud of, and there were some special times. And then those special, stupid celebrations used to come out and do those stupid things. And supporters used to ask me, my family used to ask me, why did you do that? What made you celebrate like that? Did you plan it? And I can honestly say, when I used to do those stupid celebrations, it was just made up on the spur of the moment.
And that was before those kind of sort of stupid rehearsed goal celebrations that people
I don't like all that.
Tim Cahill and his little kind of routine where he punches the fucking flag and all that.
Of course, now
we have signed... swear on this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. God, there's a light in his eyes now. I'm slightly frightened.
I thought it was on Radio 5.
No. Now, of course, we have acquired, we'll talk about acquisitions in the window later, presumably, but we have, of course, got Robbie Keane, who's got the saddest
the worst
goal celebration of all. The flip-flop and the pistols. Because, of course, we
saw Victor Rabina's flick-flack with triple pike celebration, which the audience actually held up scorecards at the end of it.
I marked him 6.5 for that.
6.5, I think he got for that.
You can't knock him at the moment to get an hat-trick.
No,
current climate, negative feeling around the ground and the club for him to get the hat-trick.
No, he's great.
Special.
He's found the secret of scoring goals, which is to not try to score goals. So in the first goal, which was a kind of slice shot from Noble, he tried to square it across the... and
went in.
Tucked it in the corner. And then he looked up, picked out his man beautifully with a cross, which went in the goal.
Yeah.
He's got it sorted.
When he took that penalty, that was an attempted back pass to our own goalkeeper.
He didn't understand the penalty rule. He thought it was a restart.
You're supposed to be West Ham supporters. What are you doing? We love
Vic. We absolutely love him.
We love him.
We have noted his inability to hit the target. It's quite interesting. I wrote an
So now we've scored 3 goals. We're taking the mickey out of him.
We're taking the mickey in an affectionate way, Martin.
We love him.
This is how we work on this show.
We love him.
This is how we work in this show. We're having a laugh. We're laughing with them rather than at them.
That second goal was a bit embarrassing on Sunday because we had been so badly outplayed for the entire first.
Yes, we should talk a little bit. Let's start by talking about the last couple of games, because there was the cup exit against Birmingham. Did you watch that, Martin?
I was in Burkina Faso working for a charity, and I was having dinner in a nunnery in the capital, Ouagadougou, and I was getting texts what the score was.
Wow.
So when West Ham went ahead, I jumped but kept it passive, obviously, because of the nuns that were serving food.
Yeah.
And then
I like the idea of a passive jump.
Yeah, passive
like
job.
that.
Well, when you're surrounded by nuns, you can't really do too much, can
Exactly,
you?
yeah.
And as you can imagine, me and nuns don't go down too well.
I don't want to
So
frighten
you better
them.
rephrase that.
It's an interesting combination.
And as the evening went on, I kept getting these texts, and obviously when it went a bit pear-shaped, it wasn't too good, of course.
Oh, dear.
But no, I didn't actually see the game, but heard about it and kept in touch with the
First
result.
half, we were excellent, weren't we? We really played well. We were pressed the ball when we didn't have it, which is that for me, that's not been happening a lot this season. We've been allowing teams too much time on the ball, too much space to pass it, instead of kind of pressing them. We did that, and we played some good football ourselves. But the problem was, that the story of the season so far so often has been dominating time at periods and not scoring the occasional goal, but not scoring two. We were worth 2 or 3 goals in that first half. The game should have been put to bed before half time.
Well,
really.
we can talk about that Birmingham City game all night and the fors and against and pluses and minuses of the performance. But I believe West Ham play Birmingham next week.
That's right, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
That is a bigger game. You can forget Wembley in the League Cup final, whatever that game is. That game against Birmingham City for West Ham is, for me, that is Cup final times 10, Champions League, here we are, final, most important, we've got to win it.
There's so much to talk about with Martin, because obviously there's being a West Ham player, but there's also being a manager. And we feel that, and I think we said earlier, that something has kind of survived amongst the players from the Zola era to the Grant era, which is this fragility and just crumbling when things seem to sort of go against us. And in fact, getting a bit confused if we go one up in a game and kind of suddenly retreating into a shell and going, we've got to sit deep and defend now because we've scored a goal.
Birmingham was a perfect example, wasn't it, of that? And when, obviously, they put the big bugger Zigic on, he's
a handful, isn't he?
He is a handful.
But
we seem to defend very, very deep with him. He seemed to be winning the ball in our penalty box instead of on the edge of our penalty box a lot of the time.
But what do you think's happening in the dressing room the last couple of years at West Ham? What do you think's happening sort of behind the scenes with the team? Because there's something that has survived from the Zola era to the Grant era that's still there, which is that sort of just really fragile, just sort of... even going up seems to sort of work against us, like the Newcastle at home game where we scored a fantastic goal in a period of dominance and then retreated back into the 6-yard box practically.
Well, I thought when they played Wolves, when I saw them play at home a couple of weeks ago, I thought they played very well.
Yeah.
In effect, they could have been, you could say they was a little bit lucky because Blake hit the crossbar. Yeah. And if that would have gone in, I think it could have been a different story.
Also, the first goal was an own goal as well. Yeah.
It was a bit lucky, but they were still ahead. It's our team, and I don't call it lucky, it's our goal. Because that's negative, and I don't like negative people. I thought they played really well. Yeah. I thought it was a good atmosphere. The crowd only started to sing I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles in the 69th minute, fact. Which I thought was particularly disappointing. There was a lot of trepidation and fear amongst all the supporters before the game when I was talking to them and when I was listening to them and seeing what was happening, and perhaps rightly so, because it's obviously been a tricky time. But I really do feel the supporters have got a big part to play. Whether they don't like the manager or they don't like the players or don't like the team, this manager will go, these players will go, but your love for the football club, whether you're in the Premier League, the First Division or Second Division, whatever, will always be there. Yeah. And I feel that they have a role to play now, and they've got to step away from the negative and move forward and step up. Yeah, and they've got to back their players, back their team. And if you remember Portsmouth a couple of years ago, they were enjoying and loving being in the Premier League, as are the Blackpool supporters right now. And I think they've got to be some of that kind of spirit back into the East End of London from the supporters, whatever the result, to get behind them. Because I don't think, and I stand to be corrected, as West Ham supporters, you're not enjoying going. There's no singing. You've got to leave that behind. If you're paying your money to go and watch them, you've got to support them and get behind them, whatever, because it is in your blood. You've got the tattoos, you've got the shirts, they've got the skinheads, and that's just the women. Yeah, you've got to get bloody behind them. When I sat there to watch the Wolves game, 69th minute before the supporters got behind them, and I must admit I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah. Well, that's the way a lot of football crowds are going now. I mean, we talk a lot about all-seater stadiums and going to the Olympic Stadium and stuff, but just the kind of the experience of going to watch football matches in the sort of top flight has become a lot more passive. And I think we've got one of the best crowds traditionally, I think, in the Premiership.
Certainly away.
Yeah,
certainly
away is fantastic. But the home, it is a little worrying when that sort of, and I know exactly what you mean. There's a kind of atmosphere of sort of worry at the beginning of these games that you know, what we have to do is get over ourselves.
No, I think that was brilliantly well said, and that's absolutely true. But actually, there have been times when the atmosphere's been pretty good, just occasionally. I mean, certainly where we are in the Bobby.
Well, I heard it was very good against Manchester United in that cup game.
Yeah,
do you remember that one?
I couldn't get there because of the snow.
Well, that's why it was good then, because you weren't there. Stay at home.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Stay at home, and then your negativity might just disperse.
But there is a lot of negativity, and there are a lot of players that seem to get singled out as kind of scapegoats for it. So, I mean, once again, on Sunday, when Bowen Mortier came on as a substitute, he was booed by a certain section of the crowd onto the pitch, which I do not understand. Because if there's one player who always tries his hardest, it is Bowen Mortier. It's obvious he's putting in a shift every time.
Booing players onto the pitch is like, that's a kind of a phenomenon that we haven't seen in years of watching football, and that is bonkers.
I've been booed at West Ham.
Really?
I've had it from West Ham supporters. Don't kid yourself. I've had a tough time. I know what it's like on a Thursday and a Friday preparing for that game, when I had to drive round from the other side of London, park in the car park, and people don't want your autograph. They give you a bit of stick. And then when you come out onto the pitch, you get the groans and the moans that you're playing. It's tough.
Yeah,
Believe you me, it's tough.
I bet it is, yeah.
Lucky, I was not lucky because of my upbringing from my parents. You know, my dad used to give me, he didn't put an arm round my shoulder on a Saturday morning. He'd give me a kick up the arse and say, pull yourself together, get your fucking, you're not allowed to swear, are you? Sorry.
No, you are.
Yeah, you are.
Get your chin up and you go and show them.
Yeah.
And you've stopped doing what you were doing. They pay their money and they will say what they're going to say. Yeah. And it's hard to overcome it. And I have had to overcome it at several clubs that I've been at. It's difficult for the players. It's not helping your team.
I want to come on to the Allen footballing dynasty in a minute, but let's talk a bit about Pro FC, which is the thing you're doing at the moment.
That's fun
because that's about training people to be involved in football and training young football players. And I mean, that's part since and including our poor showing at last year's World Cup finals. I think you may recall, lads, the England team came out. There was a
it was shocking,
slight questioning about the quality, mental, physical, tactical, every department of the young footballers that we are currently cultivating in England. And Martin, you are working to try and provide, at least in some way, a solution to that problem.
Well, not so much so, you know, it's nothing to do with the World Cup, to be honest. It was, I had a player at Brentford called DJ Campbell, I signed from non-league football, and I signed another one from Margate called Sam Sodgy. It was a free transfer. DJ was $5,000, and within 2 years, both of them were playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So I met DJ after they got promotion to the Premier League with after the Wembley game for Blackpool, and I love X Factor. I love all that stuff, right? I used to love watching it. And I spoke to DJ and I said, do you reckon there's people like you, because he was 23 and he was driving a van round Heathrow Airport delivering parcels.
Right.
Do you reckon there's any more like you? So he said, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, well, why don't we do something that sees if we could find some. Between us, have a chat, have a look into it, see if there's more like me. He said, DJ's words were, I would love the chance to give someone the opportunity like I had. So from then, I was like a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
Right?
A mad dog with a bone.
Yeah. And I have worked non-stop.
That's a lot of saliva. Yeah. That's really a huge amount. It's mad dogs, they produce a lot of saliva. Give them a bone, it's like a swimming pool.
They're foaming.
It's a swimming pool full of saliva.
So I chased after it and I went after it and I finally caught it. Ben Foster was the chef at 20. Jermaine Beckford Everton was doing absolutely nothing at 21. Charlie Austin, who's just signed for Burnley for $2 million. He was a bricklayer 2 years ago.
McAvenny didn't play sort of professionally till he was about 19, I don't think. And Ian Wright, same thing. He was Ian Wright was a brickie
Stuart Pearce. But even more recently, when they've had the academies, the scouting has been increased. There are still quite a lot of players who have either been let go for financial reasons, because clubs are cutting back. Number two, they weren't physically big enough. Right. So they needed more time to physically develop. Number three, mentally, they might have got themselves into tricky situations outside of football, lost interest, found birds, which is very disappointing. Yeah. But then they can come back stronger, mentally, physically, and find some direction in their life.
Birds. Sorry.
I like custard as well.
So that is what we've done, and we've set up a company called Pro FC, which stands for Pro Footballer Camps.
Yep.
Got the backing of just about all the big companies working in football, and I have really worked very, very hard over the last few months, and with DJ, of course, our first camp starts in February.
Brilliant. Look it up on the internet. I looked on the website today. Very impressive.
Yes.
And I think it's very timely as well, because we're sort of, obviously, as West Ham fans, when Trevor Brooking first became kind of involved in the FA, and they tried to sort of, take his sort of knowledge and skills and talents into the sort of fabric of the FA, he has been able to do nothing since he's sort of got in there. And you sense his frustration from interviews and stuff. And I think sort of encouraging kind of sort of young, English people to get involved in football is...
I think he's found it frustrating, but I think it's going to be a long, slow process. Young player development, looking from 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12s, 14s, 16s, to overcome the Blazers, the old school way of thinking. They've got to play 11 aside now, under 8s with a great big medal. I don't agree with all that. I think they should just be playing 6 aside football right up until they're about 10, 11, even 12. So they're getting touches of the ball rather than only 2 or 3 big strong boys getting touches of the ball. The pitch is far too big. They've got to run too far. It's going to take a long time.
We've said that on this podcast.
Yeah, we have. And a lot of countries are ahead of us, because I know that our school teams have gone out for a training camp in Spain a couple of years ago and came back with just saying the same sort of thing. It's completely different setup. They're playing different. They're playing small side. I'll just drop something.
There's a contact lens fallout.
Contact
lens fallout.
Yeah. They're playing small side games, and the emphasis is all about working with the ball and skills and stuff. And obviously there's fitness training as well, but the focus of it is about skill and working with the ball and fun.
Yeah,
having fun.
But that comes from the coaches. It comes from the parents, and that is going to take a long time. I went and watched my nephew play in the summer in a 6-a-side tournament near Reading. And the manager of one of the other teams on the other pitches, he's squaring up to the referee halfway through the second half because of a bad decision. The referee was about 12 years old. Absolutely ridiculous, scandalous. That bloke should be put in prison. It's just no good. That is going to stop our young players developing long term.
Well, I was a qualified referee as a young lad, and I gave up refereeing because I was so heavily intimidated one day.
Oh, you scared?
I'm a bit of a coward.
You
but
pussy.
I was very... I am a pussy. Thank you. I've just been called a pussy by Martin Allen. That's a moment of my...
What are you scared for?
Well, it was...
Guess who I met before? Guess who I met today?
No.
Keith Hackett.
Keith Hackett.
Tell us about Keith Hackett. What was that like?
Up until today... This is kind of... You're allowed to say exclusive?
Yes.
Yeah, up until today, 2 years ago, I went to a managers' conference that you always go to at the start of the season. The League Managers Association tell you you've got to be there. The referee's going to tell you the rules. So I drove down, I think it was from MK Dons, drove to Wycombe Wanderers, went in, got myself a cup of coffee, which had a saucer, proceeded forward.
Ooh.
And the first man on... opening this afternoon in front of all the managers around the London area was Keith Hackett. I never managed to drink any of the coffee because it had spilt, because I was enraged. As this saucer was shaking, I was looking at him, the eyes were going, the mouth was frothing, and I just wanted to sort of get up and smash him. Anyway,
so for the youngsters listening, we should explain that he sent off Tony Gale in our FA Cup semi-final.
Outrageously.
Yeah, in what year?
Crosby, I think, was the 91. It was 20 years ago. Crosby
so
was
I saw him today. Crosby, bye.
Yeah.
I saw him today. I was at the Premier League today for a coach educators course. I was coming down from Leicester because I had a meeting this morning in Leicester at 8:30, so I missed the morning. I ran into the room, down through the Premier League, and the normal time I go to the Premier League is to get fined or suspended or something. So I was a bit trepidation, but I knew the way there. I went into this room, and the first person I saw this morning was Keith Hackett. Oh, my God.
You don't want that with your breakfast, do you?
Oh, my God. So this is at 12 o'clock at lunchtime. We finished the afternoon, 4 hours in the classroom with these coaches and whatever they were, educationalists, whatever they called. And as I was leaving, Keith Hackett turned round and faced me. Hello, Keith. Hello, Martin. And he put his hand out to shake my hand. And I said, how are you? First time I've spoke to him since that day, and he knows I don't like him. Right.
Excellent.
So, Keith, all right? I said, tell me about that day. I didn't beat about the bush. Keith, tell me about that day at Villa Park. He went, Martin, he said, I'm glad you've come over to speak to me. I said, come on in. He said, on the Thursday, this is for all West Ham supporters, and you've got to get your head round this, because I have now forgiven.
Oh. And I'm a pussy.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, then I smacked him one. He said, on the Thursday, we had a referees conference, and we were told any type of action similar to that type of foul, we had to send them off with a red card.
Yeah.
He said, Martin, I wrecked the semi-final, I ruined it for the players, I ruined it for the supporters, and it's my biggest mistake I've made in football. But it was under the directive of the Referees Association. So I said, really? So my rage in my eyes, took a deep breath. I said, Keith, do you really feel that way? Because there's a lot of West Ham supporters, a lot of players, me, particularly Tony Gale, feel a lot of animosity towards you. And he said, Martin, he said, I got in my car afterwards. He said, I shook my head. He said, I had my head in my hands. And he said, I knew I'd made a mistake. But it wasn't only my doing.
No.
So fair play to him today for owning up.
Yeah.
Whether he meant it or not, or if he was saying it in fear, I don't know. He might be frightened. He had to say it because I was going to get him.
Were you drooling at all at the time?
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that's true.
But on that day, do you think we were going? Did you feel, because we actually started the better team, didn't we? Really, up until that point, we'd been the better side. I felt.
Yeah, we started very well. But
do you feel you were going to take them that day? It
was always going to be difficult because they were a strong side. The temperature wouldn't have obviously helped us either because it was extremely hot, and Forest are a very patient passing team. But I think as soon as we lost Tony Gale, and this is now, I wasn't thinking at the time, obviously, quite clearly, I think that we were doomed. Because with Nigel Clough coming off the front, pulling into those little pockets, and moving the ball around on a Sunday afternoon, high tension, cup semi-final. But what I won't forget
Still
about
at the
that
post
game,
twice, 0-0 and 1-0, I think.
We did, and I had a nice little chip that just went over the bar into the whole end, I can remember, where all our fans were. But what I do remember, never ever forget moment, tears in your eyes moment, is even though we'd quite clearly lost the game, the chorus of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles was awesome, never to be forgotten.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the fans had a real kind of bunker mentality because the game had been kind of screwed from the outset because of Gailey's early sending off, and the fans just got behind the whole thing.
It was one of the proudest days in the club's history.
And mine. And mine.
It was, yeah. Jim, you've got email questions for
I've got some questions for you, Martin.
If you want to email us about anything, do that to hammertime@playbackmedia.co.uk, hammertime@playbackmedia.co.uk. You can get all our links for the Facebook, Twitter, iTunes through westhampodcast.com, or follow us on Twitter at West Ham Podcast, as indeed James Ford, Nick Turner and Jade Webb are following us. Oh yeah, and you can also mad_dog Martin is a way to contact Martin Allen if you want to be called a pussy by Martin Allen. You can do that.
And can I say I can recommend it?
Yeah. Did you enjoy it, Jim?
I loved it.
It was enjoyable.
Every moment of it.
Your little face lit up. I have been called a pussy by Martin Allen.
Yeah.
That's
can't wait to tell the kids at school tomorrow.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
It's all right, you haven't at all.
It's really weird. I know so many people. I know so many people whose middle name is _. It's really weird. There's more of them about than you imagine, aren't there?
There are loads.
Mad _dog.
All over the place.
Martin.
This is from Bob Range, Martin. Martin, what would you tell our central area defenders? It's an interesting phrase. To do
Midlands. You're talking about the Midlands.
Yeah,
James Collins.
To do differently than they are at this moment to prevent some of these horror scene goals we keep giving away. How do you deal with how do you organise defending as a manager?
West Ham have got a very, very good. Very, very good defensive type coach in Wally Downs.
In Wally, yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He's done good stuff. Obviously, I used to watch Reading quite a lot when Wally was the coach there. He's done a great job under Steve Copwell at Reading, and it'll take time to evolve into Wally's way and style. But I thought it was an excellent appointment. After Wally came, I think, and I do stand to be corrected, they only lost 1 in 7, and that was the game at Newcastle 5-0. Other clubs have been battered up there as well.
I
saw the Arsenal game.
Villa,
I saw the Arsenal game at home, and West Ham were poor, but they didn't have Scott Parker and I think one of the centre backs playing.
We were short that day, definitely.
It was short, and obviously, what are the rumours coming out in the morning of that football match had a massive effect on the crowd, on the players. So with Wally, since I think they've been a bit more direct. They've got behind opposition quicker. Perhaps it's not as pretty on the eye as what it was under Zola, but it needed to be done, in my opinion.
We've certainly created some chances. We hope now we've signed the players who might stick them away.
Wally, in time, will get that right because he is a good coach. But you're only as good a coach as the players at times you're coaching. You can improve the units, you can improve the movement, you can improve the practices, you can improve them mentally, you can improve them as a unit of men that's going to stand up for each other, stand together with each other. Wally is good at that. It will take time to evolve with Wally.
Yeah.
Martin, how important do you think it is to have a kind of settled back four, if you can? Because we do seem to be... We've had a lot of different people who have played across our back four. It was a completely kind of new set on Sunday, wasn't it?
It was,
and they didn't look as though they were playing for each other. Ilunga on Sunday.
Ilunga. Well, I saw Ilunga play a couple of months ago. I think I'd done a commentary. I saw the West Brom game, and it was a midweek game, that one, wasn't it? I think he was working for a radio station, and then after 25 minutes he'd made a forward run, got into the opposition's penalty box, went all the way, and I think it was nearly half time by the time he got to the halfway line. I thought it was shocking. I was very disappointed in that. When the previous week I'd watched another left-back play, it was bombing up and down the wing like an Olympic athlete. So that put me off of Ilunga a bit. But I've been told by someone I know that he is a good player, he is a good lad, and maybe
he was something's his first season was really good.
He was like player of the year, wasn't he?
He was absolutely excellent. He was very near to it. I don't think he won it.
I think he was second to Parker.
He was 11th.
Right. He was second to Parker, wasn't he? He was really good that season.
And who was the centre backs on Sunday?
Gabidon and Reed.
Yeah.
Well, that's a new pairing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's the strongest pair? What would you say? At the moment, I thought it was Tompkins and Upson. I thought that was the
of the players available.
I think that is now the first choice, but I quite rate Da Costa.
Yeah. I saw Da Costa
he wins the ball in the air.
He's going to turn out for that prison 11, isn't he?
Next year. I think if honestly, if we'd have had Da Costa on Wednesday, Zigic wouldn't have won half those headers that he won very easily.
Yeah.
Because
Where
he's
did I see
powerful
Da Costa
in the air.
play? He played at home and he was an absolute warrior. It was a commentary I'd done for someone, and I thought he was awesome.
He was great.
And the next game he was injured, he couldn't play. But he's a warrior, he's a man. And if you like, he could say he was, I was going to say Dix-like, but Julian Dix-like. Pardon the
Maybe
pun.
too much of a man.
Well, there was. I mean, that was a fullback pairing. Without getting too nostalgic, was Breaker and Dix were two players that were camped out in the other team's bloody half.
Yeah, Martin, I've got another one from Johnny Gaffney. He says, this has probably been asked. No, actually, it hasn't, Johnny. Will the signings of Keane, Barr, O'Neill, that's Gary O'Neill, of course, and Bridge be enough for West Ham to stay up? And who from the Martin Allen era of West Ham will be the man to keep us in this league? What do you reckon?
Just pass that over. Yes, I think Robbie Keane is a very good signing.
Yep.
At times, his ratio of goals to games has not been great, but he'll play in the spine of the team. I think he brings hunger. I think he brings attitude, desire, and I think he's a good signing. The guy Barr, I don't buy into that. All that medical fail business. I think his record is pretty good in it, where he's been before. Looks like he could be a good signing, but I would say it's a gamble. Gary O'Neill, I like him. When I was at Portsmouth, he was just coming through. I think as a 15 or 16-year-old. He's got a nasty streak in him. He's a winner. He's hungry, and he has got a bit of the kind of the Bulldog, Hammers, English spirit that
fans have liked him wherever he's been. Portsmouth fans really liked him, didn't they? And you were saying the Middlesbrough fans that you've met.
I think he's a good signing. And Bridge, I saw him against Arsenal, and I didn't want to be too critical of him because he did come on my soccer school when he was 14 down in Winchester. But he's a good bloke, a good player. I really like him as a person. But against Arsenal, he was poor. But I think he needs to play games to get up to match speed.
He was thrown into it. It was a difficult situation, wasn't it?
And who, from my era of West Ham, would be the man to keep us in the league? Well, it's got to be my old sort of bonehead buddy, Dix.
Julian Biffer Dix.
Yeah. I just have such a soft spot for him. And
he was a great player.
He was a great player. He was a great bloke, and if you really got to know him, there was another side to him as well that never ever came out in public. A quiet side and a sensitive side, and I was lucky enough to actually get to know him in that sort of side.
Yeah. Well, that was, we can't stress enough what a great team that was. Breaker Dix,
we loved it.
Allen and Bishop in the midfield, Clive, Alan C up front, Trevor Morley.
I always had a big soft spot for Stevie Potts,
Kevin
who
Keane,
played his entire career at the club, and that kind of loyalty.
A lot of games
great player, Potsy. Great player. Never used to say nothing every day. He used to come into training and just sort of look around with those sort of Chinesey type eyes that he had. And
Michael McIntyre.
I would sort of mess about.
His son's at the club now.
Yeah, he's doing very well. I've seen him play as a good player.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about the transfer window, and apropos the transfer window,
you've been intercepted another.
As you know, we quite often cunningly intercept emails from players and important documents that shouldn't really be leaked. And I have intercepted an email from Radislav Kovac again. As you know, Jim, I think you remember Radislav Kovac's emails to his mother. Have occurred a lot. And
I'd like to add that I didn't do anything dirty to obtain this particular.
Oh no, that's because
in the past
you've been a honey trap.
I have.
You've been a honey trap and acquired information that would by dressing up in
I've
drag.
done things that I just couldn't tell my mother.
No, exactly. She doesn't listen to this. So here it is. As usual, it's written in his kind of halting. Sort of.
It's interesting how he manages to translate that into his actual written style.
That's right. The kind of English as a second language style of writing he's got going here. You'd think it would either be in Czech or in English, but anyway, here it is. Dear's mama, he says, there it is. Dear's mama, is me your son Radislav Kovac. Good news. Now I can email you any times of day or night now since Spearmint Rhino have installed Wi-Fi. I would have email earlier, but mine's new friend Candy was on mine laptop. Oh, that means that she was on the top of his lap. Right.
Yeah.
Mama, yesterday, scary vampire manager Avrams Grant have made me play a whole game of football. It's like second time this year, mans. At half-time, I get changed and am's ready to go home, and Avrams say, no, Radislav, you must go out and play another half. I can't believe it. I ams think of taking matter into mine own hands and have bought mine's own electronic substitute board from eBay. If something needs doing, do it yourself. Mama, tragedy have struck me, Radislav Kovac. I don't know why he keeps saying his name to his own mum. It's weird.
Strange.
Last week, I bump into mine's friend another half of Jedwood Styles' blonde midfield bombshell. But something is wrong. He have huge suitcase with Valon Barami.
Valon Barami, yeah. He
have huge suitcase with him. Immediately I know what has happened. He is dispose of body of dead hooker. I knows the score. She show you her birth canal downs an alley. Things get out of hand. Stop, say Valon. I have not killed hooker and stop thinkings out loud. I am's leaving...
How long is this going on for?
Just another minute or two. I am's leaving Raddy. Aha, me too, I say, and punch him on arm in masculine way. Let's skip training and go to Topshop for shoes and hair gel. No, Raddy, say Valon, brushing my cheek gently. I am's off to play for Italian football club and pizza variety. Pepperoni, I say. No, say Valon, he's not football club called Pepperoni. Twat. And he tells me the whole story. No, I say, realising that Jedwood is Finnish as midfield pairing, and no longer will we meet hot chicks and herd sheep atop windswept Brokeback Mountain. And, sorry, Mama, I have fallen asleep in front of Sky Movies again. Your son, Radislav Kovac.
Oh, very
so
good.
That's a weird, it's weird. I mean, they obviously they like supermodels and hair bleach.
It's fascinating these insights we get. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
So the transfer window. I think we've addressed those. I think Martin's opinions.
We've got to hope that it's not too little, too late.
Yeah.
And
we're playing. I think
we have done well in the window. I think so. To be said.
Yeah,
but. We've only got 14 games left.
Yeah.
The next 3, you've mentioned the one against Birmingham, but there's also Blackpool midweek. Now, thankfully, minus Charlie Adams.
Yes,
apparently.
yeah.
And West Brom away after that. And I think those 3 games we have to take points from those games. If we don't, we've got a really difficult run of games coming up in March. And I think we are in big, big, big trouble.
Yeah. Martin, what do you think our chances are now? We're just a couple of games away from sort of mid-table safety, aren't we? It's so tight.
Absolutely, it's doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Pussy, you're doom and gloom, aren't you?
I'm fully expecting us to take those points.
Yeah.
But I'm
absolutely.
Saying
get behind the boys and make some noise and make it happen, as Dealey used to say down at Norwich. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure all the supporters must get an absolute buzz that the owners who have been sort of criticised and slammed and don't like have gone out and got a left back, a central midfield player, 2 new forwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paid out absolutely shed loads. The owners have been criticised, rightly or wrongly. I'm not passing judgment on that. But what a buzz it must be for all West Ham supporters to know they've got 4 new players?
Yeah, 4 decent new players. Yeah, absolutely.
Keane,
Bridge,
and O'Neill. 4, I would say, decent players. It should give the squad a boost. It should give the supporters a boost.
Yeah.
With Blackpool losing Charlie Adam, this evening, it's a great time to go up there. But I was with DJ Campbell on Sunday.
Is very soon to come back.
He's going to take ages. He's been out ages, hasn't he?
It's going to take a while to get match fit, isn't it?
He might be fit, but it's going to be probably another 6 weeks till he's firing all cylinders. But I don't think he even played in RD in Germany, God bless him.
No, he didn't.
But DJ Campbell is on top form at the moment, and he is a serious danger. He's got 6 in 7 at the moment.
He's a good player.
And they played it very well against Manchester United. It is a tough game, and when you lose a big player, a key catalyst player, sometimes it can lift the team
in
a funny kind of a way, because you've got to pull that bit closer and you've got to lift your team more. It makes the game for me even tougher.
Yeah, that's right.
They've lost
first half against Barnsley, actually, without Scott Parker in it, we played very well, didn't we? Because renewed Noble came in and went, right, I'm back. We played really well.
That's exactly what I mean. And with them losing Charlie Adam tonight, I think it could make it worse.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see. We're going to wrap this podcast up, but we're going to do an extra. There's an extended extra with Martin Allen available on the iPhone app. Get it at bit.ly/West Ham app. So that's it for this edition of Stop Hammer Time. My guests have been Jim Grant, as always. Good evening. And Martin Mad Dog Allen.
Good evening.
Come on, you Irons.
This is a Playback Media production. Get all the associated links for this podcast at westhampodcast.com.